And that's recording starting.
Thanks, Paul. Welcome to this meeting of the East Lothian IJB on the 25th of August. The meeting is being recorded and will be made available as a webcast in order to allow the public access to the democratic process in East Lothian. East Lothian Council and NHS Lothian are the data controllers under the Data Protection Act 2018. Data collected as part of the recording will be retained in accordance with the Council and Health Board's policies on record retention. The webcast of this meeting will be publicly available for up to 6 months. I'll now do the roll call of attendees. When you hear your name, if you could confirm you're present, please. Shameen Akhtar.
Present.
Lynn Jarden.
Present.
Carol McFarlane.
Present.
Elizabeth Gordon.
Present.
Fiona Ireland.
Present.
Maureen Allen.
Present.
Philip Conaglan.
Present.
Lorraine Cowan.
Present.
Claire Flanagan.
Present.
Fiona Wilson.
Present.
Claire McIntosh.
Present.
Thomas Miller. Judith Tate. And we also have apologies today from Peter Murray, Val de Souza, David Binney, Ian Gorman, Wendy Hale, Marilyn McNeil, John Turville and Leslie White. And Councillor Lachlan Bruce will be joining us later. He's in another meeting just now. That confirms the attendees. Can I ask if any members have any declarations of interest on any of the items of business? No, that's great. Thank you very much. We're ready to start the business, Chair.
Thank you. Welcome to everybody to our virtual IJB. Great to see everybody and thank you very much for your attendance today. I'd like to welcome Jill Irvin to our meeting, who is taking part as an observer as part of her personal development. So welcome to you, Jill. We'll move on to the agenda, and the first agenda item is the minutes of the East Lothian IJB from the 23rd of June. Could I ask for a general approval of minutes? Are we agreed to approve the minutes?
Approved.
Thank you. That's an agreement. Can I ask if there's any matters arising? So we'll go through page by page. Any matters arising on page 1? Paul, you've got your hand up. Okay. Move on to page 2. Page 3. Page 4. Page 5. And page 6. I don't see any hands or any indications for any matters arising, so that's the minutes from the last IJB approved. Move on to agenda item number 2, which is the establishment of the Care at Home Change Board, and that's a paper to be presented by Laura Kerr.
Thanks, Shameen. So this paper is presented today to get approval to establish a Care at Home Change Board, as many members will be well aware of the challenges that we face within care at home in East Lothian and across the country just now. So given the sort of transformational programme that sits around the care at home services, it was important that we establish a change board to give those that work some governance and some structure. So you will see on the paper I have just outlined the directions that are being proposed to sit behind the change board and for the change board to work to. So the first one is around the procurement of our external care at home services. So they are in contract until April 2024. So we need to start that work to go through a formal procurement exercise, given the value to establish and try and address some of the problems within care at home. The second part is to, I'm sorry, I can see the paper's not quite been updated, but it's missing a date, but is to look at the redesign of our internal care at home services. So it's important that we, obviously, as we work towards the development of our internal service, that mirrors what we will be doing for our external provision, and that the two run together and are succinct and don't counteract each other. So the kind of overarching part of the care at home programme is to make sure that it obviously works alongside our community transformation programme, as well as has fit within our provision change board and intermediate care, etc., which many of you will have been hearing about over the last few weeks. So today, details is obviously in the paper which you will have read. Happy to take any questions, but we are looking for the agreement of the change board and the chair and the vice chair, the agreement to the terms of the reference, the terms of reference, which are detailed in the paper below. And we will obviously provide those regular updates in the same format to the strategic planning group and then to the change board of the work that the change board is doing. So happy to take any questions. Maureen, sorry, Shemeen.
Yeah, Maureen?
Sorry. Laura, could I be included in that change board? I noticed the membership doesn't have any community representation.
Yep. Yeah, that's great. That'll be a good addition. Thanks, Maureen. I'll get those added in. And that'll also help very much into that kind of work to ensure that care home is for those that are high risk and high need of services, and that we use our early and preventative and intervention services in the community to support the care at home programme. So that'd be great. Thanks, Maureen.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's great. Thanks, Maureen. Do we have any other questions for Laura? Laura, I'm looking at the change board membership. Are you looking for an IJB representative today as well?
Yes, if one could be nominated. It's a bit of a pressure for everybody, but yes, we will be looking for somebody to come forward.
Okay, so you're asking either somebody to come forward at the meeting, or if anybody has an interest to get in touch with yourself?
Yep, and we
Okay.
can get them on.
Okay, can I ask if there is anybody who is interested in being on this change board? Lynn?
Yeah, I don't know if it's necessarily going to be something that they might want me to be involved in. I mean, given my experience of being involved at integrated health and social care services in another local authority, I'd be keen to see if I'm any use, but obviously appreciate if that's maybe too close, then by all means, I won't be offended if you say no.
You would like to put yourself forward for?
Yes, please.
Okay. I don't see anybody else indicating they want to put themselves forward. So can we agree for Councillor Lynn Jardine to be on this change board? If you just show by a nod of your heads.
Chair, can I just, as it's a nomination, we need a seconder, if that's okay.
I'm happy to second that.
Oh, thank you.
Thanks, Shameen.
Okay. Do we have any other? You've got the social work representative, learning disability, social work representative, mental health. Will that be something that you will?
So we will, yeah,
allocate?
so we need to establish those within the partnership.
And the unison representative, you will also do that?
Yeah.
Internally as well. Okay, thank you. I don't think we have any other questions on this paper, and there'll be regular updates to the strategic planning group, followed by to the IJB, so we'll get updates from a fuller board.
Perfect.
That's great, thank you. I don't see any other questions or any comments anybody wants to make. On this paper, we are required to have a roll call, and a vote is required for approval. So I will let Fiona Curry do that.
Thank you, Chair. Just to confirm for members that the recommendations are to agree the establishment of the change board and the chair and vice chair, the terms of reference and membership, and to request regular updates on progress in project plan development, and to agree that 2 directions are adopted by the Change Board. I'll now come to each voting member in turn. If you could indicate which way you would like to vote, please. Councillor Akhtar.
Agreed.
Elizabeth Gordon.
Agreed.
Fiona Ireland.
Agreed.
Lynn Jardine.
Agreed.
Carol McFarlane.
Agreed.
That's confirmed that the recommendation is approved unanimously, Chair.
Great, thank you very much, and thank you very much for Councillor Jardine for putting yourself forward, and for the other representatives that will be on this group. This is a really important piece of work for us in East Lothian, and I'm glad to see that we'll be making progress through this change board. Thank you. Move on to agenda item number 3, which is East Lothian IJB Records Management Plan, and that is presented by Paul Curry.
Thank you, Chair. Hopefully get this open. There we are. The short paper in front of you is presenting to the IJB the Records Management Plan and Memorandum of Understanding, which follows a requirement under the Public Records Act to develop a way of managing, storing and securely destroying records that are produced by the Integration Joint Board. As you see from the paper, there's a bit of background of why it is the IJB has come under the law as it stands, the one that was developed in 2011. We have a limited range of records that are produced by the IJB that the Records Management Plan requires us to handle, and those are as set out. Agendas and papers for meetings such as the one we're having today and related committees, including documentation concerning directions, and as well the records of the Audit and Risk Committee and the Strategic Planning Group meetings. These are all stored and they are made available within the East Lothian Council web service online, but under the Act we have to try and tighten up on that and have a more managed process. The other element that we need to include in records management is the IJB strategies and associated policies, and they include the annual report, the strategic plan and delivery plan, and we'll be talking about the strategic plan at the development session later this afternoon. So the plan that we have, which is at Appendix 1, sets out how our public records will be managed and stored, and as the paper sets out, East Lothian Council, which has a very robust system in place already, has agreed to be the host for that process, and we have a records management officer, Zarya Rathi, who's been part of the process of developing the documentation that we have appended to this report. The only other thing to say is that the Records Management Plan and Memorandum of Understanding, as we've put it together, does need formal approval by the Keeper of Records, but the Keeper of Records colleagues have been closely involved in the process developing the plan over the last few months, so we don't see any problem with that. I think it just needs to be approved by this group in order for us to then submit it to the Keeper, and the full expectation is that we will get it to them by the 31st of August and they will approve it there and then, and we'll then be part of assessment and consideration process, which means that the Keeper will come back to us at points in the future if there are any changes that they feel need to be included in our records management plan. But otherwise, the plan, once approved, will be published by the Keeper of Records. So the recommendation seeking from the IJB is that you approve the Integration Joint Board Records Management Plan and the Memorandum of Understanding. I should say we haven't really got an option not to approve having one of these plans. It's just whether this plan meets the requirements of the IJB members. So I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Curry. Do we have any questions for him? No. Do we have any comments or questions before we move on to approving the recommendations? No, I don't see any hands up, and I don't see any indication of anybody wanted to speak. Just to say thank you very much for pulling the paper together, and that's one part of partnership, working and integration of one of our partners taking on that role to support the whole health and social care partnership in East Lothian. And this is an important part of that, of our public meetings and the information that we hold on the people that we support. So move on. This is a paper that requires a roll call, so I will pass it on to Fiona Curry.
Thank you, Chair. The recommendation, as Paul indicated, is to approve the Records Management Plan and the associated Memorandum of Understanding. So if members could indicate which way they'd like to vote when I call your name. Shameen Akhtar.
Approve.
Elizabeth Gordon.
Approve.
Fiona Ireland.
Approve.
Lynn Jardine.
Approve.
Carol McFarlane.
Approve.
Thank you. And that confirms that the recommendation is approved unanimously, Chair.
Thank you. Move on to agenda item number 4, which is change the procedure for approval of the IJB annual accounts. And this is a verbal report from Claire Flanagan.
Thank you, Chair. This is a verbal request to the IJB for a change in process to our annual accounts sign-off for this financial year. Sorry, for last financial year. Apologies, this is a diary clash for myself by covering two integration joint boards. Routinely before COVID, the accounts would go to our Audit and Risk Committee for review, along with our external audit report and recommending to the IJB. Then they subsequently came to the IJB, where they would be signed after that meeting by the Chair, the Chief Officer and the Chief Finance Officer. I'm asking this year that they go to the Audit and Risk Committee on the 13th of September and are signed after that meeting. I have asked Peter as Chair, as he doesn't routinely attend Audit and Risk, if he would be available to attend Audit and Risk to hear the discussion, as he will ultimately be signing off the accounts, and he is happy to do that. I will also include links to the accounts and the external audit report in the finance report to the IJB at its 15th of September meeting.
Okay, thank you. Do we have any questions for Ms. Flanagan? No, we have no questions. Because this is another approval, a roll call is required for this recommendation, so I'll pass that on to Fiona Curry.
Thank you, Chair. As Claire outlined, the recommendation is to approve this change in process, that it will be the Audit and Risk Committee who approve the annual accounts. When I call your name, if you could indicate which way you would like to vote, please. Shameen Akhtar.
Agreed.
Elizabeth Gordon.
Agreed.
Fiona Ireland.
Agreed.
Lynn Jardine.
Agreed.
And Carol McFarlane.
Agreed.
Thank you. That confirms the recommendation is approved unanimously, Chair.
Thank you very much. That's the end of our business on the agenda. But before we finish, I'd like to leave the best till last, which is to welcome Fiona Wilson. Many of you will have already met her, as she's been around meeting as many people as possible, and to welcome her to East Lothian IJB. And we very much look forward to working with you and looking forward to the range of work that we've covered on the agenda today and our strategic plan in the years ahead. So a very warm welcome to you, Fiona.
Thank you, and I'm really excited to be here and look forward to working with you all. So thank you for making me feel so welcome.
Thank you. That is the end of business for our IJB agenda today.
Thanks, Chair. Could we switch off the recording now, please, Paul, if it's not been switched off?